My former boss taught me how not to run a business. Sadly enough, sometimes the best way to learn how to do something is to learn what not to do. I don't want to get too personal. Business is business. I don't take it personally. You could read all day long about this is how business is done, this is how management is done, but it is quite interesting to actually see it firsthand. And so I won't be naming names. I'm not going to be talking about the company that I use to work at, and specifically, I'm not going to be calling out anything necessarily personal. I want to look back at what happened in the past and see, can I do better going forward? And so that's what we're doing in today's video. So these lessons revolve around 3 key principles. And the first one is going to be people over profits. If you don't understand what that means, that basically is saying that above all else, above the money, above anything else, power, fame, success in business, whatever that might be, you're putting your employees or customers or just people in general over it. There's actually a CEO who did this. His name is Dan Price. He's the CEO of Gravity Payments. And he took his salary from $1.1 million a year all the way down to $70,000. And then he set a baseline to where any employee that works at the company, no matter what position, your income is $70K. If you're making $70K a year, you're bringing in enough where most of your financial problems start to kind of fade away. Dan Price really took that to heart and said, I'm cutting my outrageous salary down to take care of my people, to take care of my employees.
You had people making $35,000 a year, but you told them you were going to double their salary.
Yeah.
And then you actually had to do it.
Right.
How did you pull it off?
Well, it's tricky. You know, I took the $1 million pay cut.
And some interesting things happened when he did this. 11 people over the next year said that they were expecting a kid. They were waiting to start a family because of financial matters, because they didn't think they could afford to have one. But now at a $70,000 salary, they felt they could afford to have it. Their employees went from less than 1% of the people in the company that could afford a home. That number jumped to over 10% of people that could actually afford to buy a home.
Right on track for the American dream. You know, we have a beautiful baby boy, a wonderful home, a beautiful life. We're not only just living, we're able to thrive.
On top of that, you have reduced commute time because people could afford to live a little closer to work. People are saving more money, and so much so that when COVID hit, and Gravity Payments basically plummeted in terms of sales, they forewent their payment for a season. And they said, you've taken care of us so much, we're willing to step out and say, look, keep the money, keep the business going, and then when times are good again, we'll go back to it. And Dan Price, again, did an excellent thing. He stopped paying them, kept track of how much he owed them, and then when times were good again, he went back and back paid them. When you take care of your people, there's gonna be reduced turnover.
Our turnover rate was cut in half. So when you have employees staying twice as long, their knowledge of how to help our customers skyrocketed over time. And that's really what paid for the raise more so than my pay cut.
Of course, this video is about my former boss. And one thing my former boss, I feel like, didn't fully grasp was how they were driven for profits. Each customer was not a customer to take care of, but a card to swipe. And when you're working on a team that is only money driven, that is only about money, and you watch as your leader is hoarding most of it, it makes it hard to stay in that company for a long period of time. And so seeing that, you're gonna have very high turnover, which in business is expensive. It's expensive, it's bad for morale, it's bad for a team. If you're having to constantly rebuild your business, you're not gonna be able to succeed. So that brings me to point number 2, empathy in leadership. So Simon Sinek, he is fantastic. He's an author, motivational speaker, and many other things. He emphasizes the importance of an empathetic approach to managing and leading your team. I wanna take note that I'm referring to this person as boss and not leader. There are definitely instances in my time there that I remember meeting and talking to my former boss, and something very personal had happened in my life, and it was we had a very business relationship. If I ever am blessed enough to get to the point where I can have a team with my company, I hope I'm viewed more as a leader, a friend, a mentor, whatever it might be. I don't want to be somebody's boss. An empathetic leader is somebody who's actually caring about you as a person, not just what you can produce, not just how much you can push out, but you as an actual person. There's that famous clip, and I want to put it in here.
What does empathy look like? Here's the lack of empathy. This is normal in our business world. You walk into someone's office, someone walks into our office and says, your numbers have been down for the 3rd quarter in a row. You have to pick up your numbers, otherwise I can't guarantee what the future will look like. How inspired do you think that person is to come to work the next day? Here's what empathy looks like. You walk into someone's office, someone walks into your office and says, your numbers are down for the third quarter in a row. Are you okay? I'm worried about you. What's going on?
And that clip specifically shows, if your numbers are down, we have the history to go. You're fired, you're out, your metrics are down, you're out of here, you're done. I am baffled when I have bosses and leaders and people who can't fathom just looking at you and asking, are you okay? I hope me as a leader and me as a mentor and hopefully me with my business, I can hopefully get to one day having a team of my own business, where I don't have to answer to somebody who's barking at me about numbers, but I can just look down and go, are my people okay? You take care of the people around you and you treat people with respect and empathy, your business runs better, guaranteed. And then I want to talk about good morals. So this is very subjective. Who has good morals? Who's a bad person? Who's a good person? In our businesses, are you working with honesty, integrity, and most importantly, in my opinion, are you working shoulder to shoulder with the people that you claim to want to lead? I want to see you next to me. I want to see you work. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Obviously, you're paying me for a job, so it is irrational to expect you to do the exact same job. It baffles me to see somebody ask somebody to do something, and maybe it's not so much that they couldn't do it themselves, but that they wouldn't. And that's the part that gets to me. And I want to be a leader who's in it with you, who's shoulder to shoulder with you. If I'm asking you to do hard maintenance or hard labor, or I'm asking you to build something from the ground up or open an account or take care of this client, I don't want to be millions of miles away not knowing what's going on. I want to say, hey, heard you had a rough day. I'm on my way to the office right now. Let's go get some food. Let's come back. Let's regroup. And you can tell me what you need me to take off your plate. It could be even as simple as just saying, hey, look, you've been working really hard. You've worked 50, 60-hour weeks for me. Leave early. It'll be okay without you. And if it isn't, I will make sure that it is. If I had a boss that did that, I feel I'd be more dedicated to that company, to that person, because my leader is there and they are taking care of me. They respect me enough. My former boss had a history of making decisions behind closed doors and not telling us, changing the narrative and changing the expectation without fully informing you. From my perspective, and this is completely subjective, it felt like I was being barked at, giving orders from a distance from somebody who wasn't understanding what I was dealing with. Having a boss who's so far away, who's so disengaged, that they're looking at you saying, why is this the way that it is? And you try to explain it, but they don't even know what you're talking about. And so in our business, how can we do better? Well, we can, one, be shoulder to shoulder with your employees. Make time to not just call your employees about, hey, you haven't been doing this, you need to do more of this, like, why are you not working on this? But actually call them and ask, hey, how are you? Half of managing and half of running a business is being other people's therapists and being other people's mentor. And that's just part of the gig as a successful business owner, leading and guiding and taking care of the people around you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you guys have enjoyed, drop a like and comment down below who I should talk about next. I really only have one of these in the chamber in terms of old bosses that I wanted to talk about here on this channel. There's no more of that, but if you have somebody else you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. And hey, I have a whole playlist of videos like this, so definitely check them out. And I'm going to link that down below. But I really appreciate you guys watching this episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios. 11 babies